What's up, guys? Welcome to G Whiskey. My name is Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and every once in a while throw in other whiskey-related content. Today we're doing something different. I want to do a side-by-side with you guys, a blind side-by-side. I've got 4 port-matured whiskeys here with me. I'll be tasting them, ranking them, and sharing my thoughts. Stick around. Port. Love it or hate it, it's a wine. That was a terrible intro. Port. More than just a place for boats. No, that's port. We all know it as a fortified wine from Spain, Portugal, and it's one of the more controversial wine finishes in whiskey. For a lot of people, it's very much a love it or hate it type of thing. And for a while, I thought I was in the hated camp. I didn't like how sweet it made a lot of my whiskeys, and I did have a few lesser bottlings that were port matured, and that's putting it generously. So for the longest time, I wasn't interested in port. I was kind of checked out on it. But in the spirit of open-mindedness and being able to change your mindedness, I've amassed 4 whiskeys today, 4 port matured whiskeys for your consideration. I'll be tasting them in a blind side-by-side. So with me here, I've got the Dalmore Portwood, I've got the Glenmorangie 14 Quinta Reuben, I've got the Tomatin 14 Portwood finish, and I've got the Arran Portwood. And maybe not all of them, but most of these I do enjoy. So I do like port. So I thought I hated port. I don't. A bit more of a breakdown here. Both the Tomatin and the Dalmore were matured in tawny port pipes. The Glenmoe was matured in ruby port pipes. And Arran, which is a brand known for their transparency, doesn't actually tell us what kind of port was used to mature their whiskey. Anyway, I'm not going to pretend I know too much about the different styles of port and the kind of flavors they impart on whiskey. I did Google it. Apparently ruby port gives us more like fruity, sweeter notes. Apparently tawny port has a little bit more of a restrained sweetness and more caramel notes. Anyway, I've reviewed most of these whiskeys before. I think the only one I haven't touched on so far is the Dalmore. But I did come back to these the other day. I did a not blind tasting, also known as just a tasting, the other day, because I wanted to reassess where I stand on these whiskeys, figure out a hierarchy for you guys for science. And the ranking that I landed on looked like this. The Arran, the Glenmorangie, and the Dalmore, I all like roughly about the same. If I had to score them, I'd probably give them all about 86. But because it's a video and we need hierarchy here, this is where I landed in terms of preference. The Tomatin I have reviewed before on the channel. I think I gave it 84. I wasn't a huge fan, but I thought it was all right. The other day when I came back to it, I did not enjoy it. I'd bring that score down to 82. So it's definitely in last place. It's definitely way behind the others. Now, do I expect these rankings to change when I go in blind? Maybe, possibly, probably. I kind of hope so, just because it's more entertaining that way, but we'll see. All right, so our drams are poured here. I'm going to cover my eyes. Girlfriend is going to assign numbers to each of these Glencairns and hand them off to me. What I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the camera rolling continuously so you guys know I'm not cheating. Okay, so we're ready to go. Girlfriend is going to rearrange the Glencairns with numbers on them. I won't see what the new order is, so later when I check the whiskeys, I won't know what's what. But before I do that, I need to blind myself so I don't see what she's doing. Darling, will you hand me my sleeping mask, please? No, that's your sleeping mask. Please hand me my sleeping mask. All right, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna put this on, and she will put on some numbers, switch around the Glencairns on me. Okay, so it is done. I no longer need my sleeping mask. I'm gonna move these bottles back here. We don't need them. I don't know which number matches which bottle. I'll only find out in, I guess, post-production. The way I'll do this is I'll just randomly grab them, I guess, what's closest to me. Okay. Sweet. A little bit earthy. Interesting. Okay, this one's darker, heavier. I'm going to guess, I'll guess later, but I have an idea about that one. Okay, I know what that one is. Yeah, okay, too easy, too easy. I know what's what. I bet, well, first of all, I'll tell you the order of my preference. I think I like this one the most. Number 2, this one. Number 3, this one. Number 4, this one. But I already know that's a bit of a change in the order, because here's my guess. I think this one is Glenmorangie. I think this one is Arran. I think this one is Dalmore. In fact, I know this one's Dalmore. And this one has got to be Tomatin. That's my guess. I'm sticking with it. All right, so I've gone back over the footage, and now that I know what's what, as it turns out, I am an absolute genius. I am a whiskey whiz. Words fall short of describing just how great of a whiskey taster I am. But really, I think if history remembers me for anything, it will be for how exceptionally humble I am. Now, to be fair, this was not the most challenging side-by-side, especially when you have something like Tomatin in there. As I said earlier, I feel like Tomatin is much worse than the other ones in terms of quality of flavor. So of course that one was going to stick out like a sore thumb. The Arran, on the other hand, while I would rank it roughly the same as stuff like the Dalmore and the Glenmoe, does have a higher ABV, and that intensity did stand out to me. It's also a little bit darker, and it's got more of a restrained sweetness, and I reviewed it very recently, and those markers kind of stood out to me. We've also got Dalmore in there. Dalmore, for me, is a very distinctive house style. I never have too much trouble picking Dalmore out of a crowd, so that wasn't too tough. The Glenmorangie is probably the least distinctive. It's like probably the most nondescript character out of the 4, but still, because the other 3 were so obvious, I had no trouble finding out what that one was. It was not that tough. Still a genius though. The interesting thing here though is that I initially had the Glenmoe picked out as my favorite. I had it at the top of the ranking, and that fell to number 3. So I had Arran and I had Dalmore ahead of Glenmorangie, at least in the blind tasting. That was not the case when I was doing the regular tasting the other day. So kind of interesting how that works. Anyway, I guess that's it for our blind tasting today. Of course, I want to hear from you guys. If you tried any of these whiskeys, maybe you've tried all of these whiskeys. Do you have any preferences? What are your thoughts on these ones? Do you like port in general? Let me know down below. Finally, I want to include a special guest appearance by this guy right here. This is the Kavalan Solist Port Whiskey. I could have included it in the lineup. I didn't because it's not fair. This is a league ahead of the rest of the whiskeys. It's my favorite port matured whiskey. It's one that I recommend to people. It is more expensive, so if money's not an issue, get this one first. Otherwise, you're definitely safe with stuff like Dalmore, Glenmorangie, Arran, all very good whiskeys. Maybe skip out on the Tomatin. And I guess that's the end of our video. So guys, thank you very much for watching. If you want to help support the channel, I do have a Patreon. Otherwise, you can like, comment, subscribe. That's always appreciated. Guys, let me know if you want me to do more side-by-sides like this, if you enjoyed this video. Otherwise, you can do the usual. Let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.